To just set the tone of the conversation, the CCAM Stories of Hope is largely to bring back the narrative about what Indian startups are doing in the current times, especially when the conversation around the COVID-19 pandemic or the larger healthcare industry is so tentative, and it's so disappointing at the same time. And we all know that India is not going to take a no for answer, and is not going to just sit by and just watch for all the bad things to happen. So we are here to largely talk about how the startups are holding up the bandwagon, are facing all sorts of difficulties, but at the same time are working in tandem with the government and different kinds of partnerships, and are changing this narrative from a supposedly negative narrative to a positive. So that's the heart of the CCAM Stories of Hope. So I have a few questions for dedicatedly for Lalit in the beginning, and then I will move on to Rachna and Shishir. Okay, Lalit, the CCAMP Index program, under which the many indigenization of ideas is happening, is being anchored by CCAMP. So, for a lot of our audience who are hearing about the Index program a very first time, can you dissect it for us?
So you're right. The pandemic did take us a little bit by surprise, and one of
Right.
the first reactions that happened to the pandemic from the indigenous manufacturers was that a consortia was formed very early on, and it was supported by DBT, and it was the National Biomedical Resources
Right.
Indigenization Consortia. This consortia came together and started putting together a few things, getting together a few participants to see what are all the different things that can be done. Meanwhile, at
Right.
CCAMP, CCAMP came up with a proposal to the Rockefeller Foundation for taking up a very structured, organized uh, approach to indigenization of
Right.
diagnostics. And fortunately for India, actually, the Rockefeller grant came through with Dr. Taslim at CCAMP being the principal investigator, and that was the genesis of CCAMP Index, the program that we talk about. Uh, and I know it's a little bit of a longish introduction, but very important to know that three things make up index. There are three components to index, right? The number one component to index is the MSMEs, the companies that are actually
Right.
manufacturing diagnostic kits, or they are actually manufacturing ingredients that go into the diagnostic kits. Huwell, for example, makes both, so they belong in index, and they were one of the first joinees into index in that sense. That's the MSMEs. The second thing that makes up index is the centers of excellence. So
Right.
we have 8 centers of excellence. When you want to work with diagnostics, it is important that this diagnostic companies do a lot of development, a lot of research, and then they manufacture, and then they go to the quality regimen, and then they launch into the market. There's various steps in the process, so they need help and support in various functional areas. And these functional areas are
Right.
chemistry, biology, scale up, quality, informatics, business analytics, rapid prototyping, right? And most importantly, clinical studies. So these
Right.
8 different functional areas where they needed support, we brought 8 centers of excellence together. So we have the MSMEs, which we brought together onto one platform. Now we have about 150 MSMEs. And then we have these 8 centers of excellence that are there.
Right.
And whenever one of these MSMEs has an issue in one of these functional areas,
Right.
we bring the center of excellence to the front, and we help solve the issue that the MSMEs are facing. We are an extended R&D arm for these MSMEs. We are an extended analytical arm, a clinical arm for these MSMEs. Wherever they need help, we get in. For most cases, we do this free of cost for the MSMEs. So
Right.
we have the COEs, and then we have the MSMEs. The third big important component in the platform is the virtual portal that we created. We have a portal, a marketplace that we created where all the COEs, all the MSMEs that make diagnostic kits and reagents, as well as those that make ingredients that go into these diagnostic kits and reagents, consultants that help these people, or even companies that make ancillary products like plasticware and things like that. And then eventually, now slowly, end buyers for these diagnostic kits. All of those guys are brought together on one place on the marketplace. The marketplace is being developed for us by Pro Bono, by TCS. So these are the three important things that we put together as a part of Index, and that is how Index progresses. Now, what does Index mainly work on? Index mainly works on four different things. One is indigenization, because we are an indigenization program. We want to help indigenize as much as possible, and very aptly put, Huel is a prime example of indigenization, because there's not a single component in the Huel kit that is not indigenous. And quite often, and I think 99%, but for the packaging material and plasticware, I think everything is made by them too. It's not just about being indigenous, it's also about being self-sufficient in that sense. So four things that we work on, like I said: one is indigenization, two is optimization. When you're doing, you need to do a lot of tinkering with your reagents in order to substitute and things like that. So optimization is the second thing we work on. Third thing we work on is MSMEs, or even startups or smaller companies which know how to make things work at a bench scale but need help with scale up. So third thing that we work with them is scale up. And the last thing that we work with, and Huel doesn't need help here because they've done so very well, but a lot of people do, is commercialization. How do you launch your products and make them commercial? So that's how I put it. So three things: MSMEs, the portal, and the centers of excellence, the 8 centers of excellence that we set up, along with the portal, and then these 4 things that we work on. That's what brings together Index.
You're on mute.
Shruti, you're
on mute, Shruti.
Okay, I'm sorry. For such a program, the Index program, the 360-degree mapping of different kinds of partners is very essential. It pretty much is the core of it. So how do you see this collaboration placing itself?
So when we started, like I said, Huel was one of our first, we onboarded Huel, one of the first ones to join us. But exactly this time last year, we had about 3 or 4 participants. And we said, okay, let us know what products you have. And we mapped out those products. We mapped out the customers for those products, the users for those products, the specifications for those products. And you very truly said it's a 360-degree view, because we went into the minutest details of each of the products that they were making. And we kind of looked at each of the ingredients that went in, and then looked at suppliers for those ingredients. And what started out as a very, very kind of a very picky kind of an exercise, at the end of the day today has given us this amazing ecosystem view. So today sitting where we are at CCAP Index, we have details of the minutest of the ingredients that go into making kits, making other ingredients in some cases. And then we know the costs of these ingredients, we know the different suppliers for these ingredients, we know what issues those suppliers face. So suddenly we have this global view of everything that's happening. And that has actually helped us kind of really come to great solutions for some of these people. You mute again, Shruti.
Lovely. I would now want to move on to Rachna and Shishir. Hello. And firstly, thank you so much for being a part of CCAM Stories of Hope.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. So firstly, let's talk about Huel. From its very interesting name that signifies the social angle to building 26 products. Tell us more about Huel. What does it intend to do?
So I'll take up, and then probably Rachna continues.
Yeah.
So Huel essentially means human welfare. So it's working towards human welfare, making more products towards human welfare. Since our earlier company was not specifically made as RAS Life Sciences, which was based on Rachna, Anup, and Shishir. So we thought the subsequent company startup should be a generic and which can be more global. So, unfortunately, many have thought it's a Chinese company or Korean connection. Huawei, people still call it a Google or Huawei. So essentially and now we started branding it as H, U and W as capital letters. So QL, so that would be clearly understood. So that's the main. And initially, after exiting RA's Life Sciences in 2017, we had again opportunity to start one more company or to go back to whichever company we select for our jobs. But we prefer not to go into others. So once an entrepreneur always would like to be an entrepreneur. So would like to take things on yourself and takes everything. See some learning which went earlier, how things not to do. So that helped us in building up this company. So we started with molecular diagnostics again, but initially we started with more enzymes and consolidating ourselves towards making our own products lineup. I think Rachna can add more regarding the products.
Yes, I think we started working in RAS. We realized that it was essential to have our own enzymes, because as long as you are dependent upon the supplies from outside country, many times shipments and other things affect a lot, and it becomes difficult at large scale to maintain the quality and the timing also. So we mainly focused. We started with the services with other kits, as well as we focused on enzyme development and establishing the manufacturing at large scale. Luckily, we wrote a project, and at that time in 2017-18, we got a project from BIRAC on scale up of the enzymes. So we started scale up in 2017 end or 2018 beginning itself. And the main enzymes used in molecular diagnostics, we started working on. So that way we added in our kitty several varieties of Taq polymerase, varieties of reverse transcriptase, and other different enzymes which we have used for the kit. And using those enzymes, then we developed these kits, got the licenses for it, around 23-24 parameters. And we started selling these in the beginning of 2019, right? Because by the time our manufacturing facility got ready with ISO 78 requirements, so we could start by mid of 2019. This thing, luckily some of the government funds we got, some we had some little bit money with us in our PF, and also with that also we built the facility and proceeded with these products. And 2019, I think 2019 end, we started working on the COVID assay development.
Lovely. And Rachna, you actually led me to my next question by the keyword COVID. So currently in the COVID era, I think Huel has made a name for itself, especially with its RT-PCR testing kits, and it's hit the market. It's made a name for itself through affordability and its global standard adherence. So tell us more about this product. How is it different from all the other products, all the other RT-PCR kits available in the market right now?
I think most important thing is we have been working in the development of RT-PCR kits for last 10 to 12 years. So developing it with respect to COVID, probably developing a kit was not that difficult, but scale up of the COVID kit with maintaining the same quality, because even when you go at the larger in numbers, then you have to worry about even the filling, even the procurement of the vials, even the quality control, the reagents which were making, probably we were making 100 ml, now we had to make 10 liters. So how to do the mixing, how to maintain the stability, how to maintain the sterility, all those things came in picture, and probably establishing all those things took little bit time. It's not that we never made mistakes, but yes, we were ready to accept the mistakes, rectify it, and come back quickly. So that is what we have been doing, and in that process, we have added a lot of automation. We have also started manufacturing vials because we face a lot of uncertainty to import the vials for packing of the kits. But in between, that supply stopped because those vials were exhausted in Canada and the US itself. So I think uniqueness of UL or the UL kit is in the Indian scenario where not much expertise was available. We didn't have too many of trained manpower. Automation was not easy. One by one, we have done the scale up of each and every component without compromising with the quality and without compromising with the price. So we have been somehow able to maintain the balance of the price and quality and manufacture almost everything in India at UL. Probably that is one of the unique things or more positive thing for us.
Yeah, to add a little bit more, because validation was a key part. I think that's how the genesis of Index and which came into existence more and priority have come up to those places like Index. The validation initially was a very tough part for any kit manufacturer because no positive control was available, no access to samples, and nobody to say whether you are doing the right kit or not, and making those kits in a right standard, which is commercializable and which is acceptable in the market, only NIV or ICMR has to decide. So that was the entrance exam, IIT, JEE exam for every manufacturer, where they can see yes or no after that, and not even know the answer sheet. You don't even get to see the answer sheet, but ultimately you just know you are qualified or not. So that is a big challenge probably every manufacturer faced in India. And thanks to programs like Index, which they have taken the pain in getting all things done at their end. And now many of them get validated at Index. That's one positive part. And other part, like, yes, as Rachna said, diagnostics was not being looked at a scale-up process earlier. Because the maximum anybody did a molecular diagnostic test, the volume was not more than 100 to 200 samples a day. Maximum, even the LALs or NBAXs or all these have done not more than 100 to 200. But the volume have increased to thousands. And with multiple centers and with multiple collection centers across the country. Samples. So making kits to that volume to suffice the needs of that volumes is a big challenge, because earlier the scale-up was only done by vaccine manufacturers. They were not done by a diagnostic manufacturer, at least in molecular diagnostics. That was done in more sugar testing, more biochemical based testing, but not in the molecular diagnostics. So then the challenge, as Rachna said, we had to work out with the volumes of 10 ml to the 10 liters of enzyme. So that actually increased the whole burden right from manufacturing it to probably like filling lines, labeling lines, and packaging lines. So all these have to be set up, and you have a limited time of business. You have to cater the business as well as you have to set up those, optimize those, because not everything is customized to diagnostic vials. The screw cap vials are different to that of vaccine vials. So they are not optimized to those. So you need to parallelly optimize. You need to make things work in shortest time and making up most out of it. I think that's a big challenge. What we have.
Right.
And another thing was, I think the unique thing, we had the enthusiastic team with us. The short team, when we started working, the 9 to 10 of us, now we are around 60. But those now 9 to 10 people have worked relentlessly to transfer the information, to train the people, so team can become bigger and better and work in coherence.
Right, right. I want to deep dive on this aspect a little later. So I also understand that you are one of the first organization, first cellular diagnostic firm to get license from ICMR and DGCI, which are your drug regulating bodies, to manufacture the RT-PCR kits in India. So, but the last year has also been challenging in terms of manpower and resources. So how did you overcome this bottleneck? I think in my conversation with Shishir, he did talk about how you literally expanded your business in a very short span of time. So please help us understand this bit.
I'll take up initially and then probably Rachna can add in. So what we have started with small manpower at our end. So as Rachna mentioned, we had around 10 people who were working in different lines, mostly technical, because we didn't have enough volumes at that time, but we were just picking up with the volumes. So in the phase one, the first wave, probably the volumes were less.
Right.
But the amount of work what we have to be optimizing for that sort of scale itself was huge.
Right.
The first consignment what we sent is 50,000 tests, and that itself took us a lot of time because that we needed as a single plex assay. So it took a lot of time and a lot of energy from each manpower. And because of lockdowns, that have become a big, big challenge because getting a good manpower, actually in both senses, COVID was helpful because lockdown is one which actually created lots of dearth in manpower, but also on the other side, we also got lots of people, those who were jobless. So in both perspective, it was like two sides of coin. Like this lockdown, not many were willing to come out of home and then work for us. And fortunately, many things happened. Like people, those who were, we dealt with caterers who came to serve meal for us, and we employed them directly in our packing section. So we trained them in packing. So they used to get food for us, and they used to work for us. So it actually added those sort of things to us. And many sales guys, those who came to us, they lost jobs, and one connection got other connection. So we slowly added 15, 20 people in packing and logistics part. And we had, for example, Indigo or SpiceJet, they had this issues, layoffs at their end. So we got those guys for logistics. So in the sense we had, it's a boon, blessing in disguise. What do you, rightly fit there, because we have those guys who are already, have connections with these guys, and then with transport, with logistics guys, they were onboarded, and then we appointed them. So getting manpower was really challenging, and getting trained manpower all the more was very difficult. But we had to put efforts. We worked. I think myself and Rachna spent many hours, right from packing to purification of enzymes. We actually sitting at office till 4 o'clock in the morning. We packed and we shipped many of those directly. So I think that every entrepreneur takes up, but that's how probably they also learned things, and probably training happened parallelly while doing work.
Right. Over to you, Rachna, if at all you want to add more inputs.
Yeah, so that's how probably initially we used to plan in such a way that 5 of us, we do manufacturing for 5 hours, and then we generate the labels, and then we do the packing. So our day used to start morning at 8 o'clock, and it used to end next morning around 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock or 10 o'clock. But slowly people, we hired more and more people. We could not hire at one go also, because there was a fear that everything has to be transferred properly, all the SOPs and everything. So we used to see that where the workload is more, so hire, first we hire in that, adjust it, train them. And once that is established, then we move to the second one where the load is more. So the trained people maybe then can move to the other department and train more people, get more people. And that's how each and every department we have setup. And we have tried to put like 1 or 2 or 3 of trained people, along with them 3 or 4 of newcomers, and then in
Right.
between keep checking, making the documents. And yeah, some mistakes also. Many times you have to repeat the entire process. There was losses also because of that, but yeah, slowly we
Yeah.
have established. And now the team is involved so much. At least at present it is like, okay, this team will do the job, go home, the other team will come, they know which document they have to pick up, and they have to do this part, and then the third team will come. So that way now it feels fun. It's
Right.
really exciting for all of us to see that, yeah, now we know how it works. So probably it was a good opportunity also for us, opportunity to work in pressure and bring best out of many of us. That, okay, we can do this also,
Yes.
let's
Yes.
take this challenge, let's do that. In the meantime, even with all the orders, there will be a lot of troubleshooting, because the real-time PCR
Right.
is a new technology reaching to different parts of the country. So okay, then you have
Right.
to attend that also. So I think sometimes it's pressure, but sometimes it's fun.
Yeah, to add one more,
Yes.
actually, we were fortunate to get associated with same employees. Those who work with RAS, they
Right.
all shifted to Huel. So that's another fortunate part. Currently, we have, I think, 60 to 70% those who are with us for last 10 years. So that's one, probably it's something what any entrepreneur would like to have. Those guys,
Right.
those are with good and bad times. So they're all with us for last 10 years now.
Yeah, there are
So,
many people who came at lesser salary than what they were getting.
oh, they took lots of pay cuts. They took around 40% pay cuts. I know our QC manager took around 40% pay cut and joined us only for I mean, they knew that probably something can happen here. So I think that hope actually boosted us to work more. So
Right.
I think employee pressure is one what we have taken always as a priority, because that's
Right.
what every time when we look at monthly payouts, we always realize that probably we need to work only for that. So little bit more harder. So every day after day. So
Right.
that's kept us motivated.
Right. One thing is for sure, like both of you in the last few minutes have made this entire journey look so easy. It looks very doable, like really, like I think even I can do this. But I'm sure there's today you can speak about it on hindsight with so much learning behind you. So, firstly, congratulations for this feat and making it look so easy and seamless for a lot of us listening about it for the very first time. So, Rachna and Shishir, during this challenging time, what kind of assistance and mentorship did you receive from CCAMP and the program itself?
Mentorship.
Yeah, one, we actually had one ACT Act grant from CCAMP, which was enrouted through CCAMP at that time. So that was for scale up, and we supplied equal amounts of kits. The value for what they have given us, same value we have supplied for different states. So it gave us visibility. For example, we supplied for Northeast, where they have done some charity stuff. So we supplied to Northeast, we supplied to Jammu Kashmir, we supplied to Maharashtra, some places. So that gave us the visibility. So that increases the visibility. And the most important thing which they have come up with IndieX program. I think that gave a very, I mean, not only for us probably, that gave us a very positive, that's what we were discussing, Rachna and myself, that gave us lots of positivity in terms of looking at a startup, because startup is always looked at something which is struggler, or something who is always struggling to get funds, or look, I mean, all incubation centers only looked at startups only as fund seekers.
Right.
But I think programs like IndieX have given a positive sign to incubatees or many of the startups that there are programs which help as hand-holding programs to startups to progress, do something good, very positive. So I am a big fan of this program for sure. And I keep talking to Lalit on many occasions that this has to be extended beyond COVID, beyond probably can have a better consortia, better reach to Indian perspective, because all manufacturers are different, all have different objectives. Competition is heavy. So to evaluate and balance, I can think what Lalit might have faced so many in this aspects, and his team definitely. See, there are different challenges, different egos, different competitors, different competitions which would be coming up, and confidentiality. So everything has to be digested and supported to individual, and to look up individual aspects. If probably what Shishir and Rachna is thinking, probably do they need any funding or any such, these aspects also is being covered by the CCAM program. I think the independency what CCAM gave to Index is tremendous. Probably that one I appreciate Dr. Taslim for that,
Right.
and other programs. What fantastic job. CCAM have done tremendously well. Managing so many incubators and startups is a real good thing. What I have observed.
I know, because I think especially the positivity which has been spread for the Indian startup, because since beginning, the one thing which we face and we hate is always when you go for with the Indian product, you have to prove it again and again. It is received with a question mark that whether it will be good or not. In other country, maybe you will pass at one go in their test, but in India, every day you have to go through the test, and you have to have the fear that we are Indian, the product
Right.
is produced in India, what to do.
Right.
And I think India Index was first when I think with Dr. Mitali, we had a discussion, and I took out all my frustration that what is this? We need to change it. And later on, I was thinking, oh my God, maybe I spoke a little bit too much. But then I was relaxed that no, it has been taken in a positive way, and we are supported
Right.
for it, and we have been able to cope up. Still, it's not that it is completely gone, because our mindset is always there that Mercedes is better than Maruti. But how to reach to that level, we need support.
Right.
We need
Right.
that environment where the science can be nurtured, can be commercialized without losing the sheen of science. So
Right.
I think that support we are getting from Index, that positivity is created in the environment, and that's good.
Right, right. Thank you so much. And you very briefly mentioned about the expansion of your business. So give us a little more background about it. How did you do this entire expansion? And currently you're also like, give us some numbers in terms of currently what's your manufacturing rate, and what are the regions and places that the kits are reaching out to?
I think numbers Shishir can give better. Places I can tell that we have made India, we have kept the India map in our office, and we keep putting one pin whichever state we supply. So in that, I think 27 states we have covered, some in small quantities, some in huge quantities, and
Right.
I think except UP, we have supplied very limited because it's very far for us, but otherwise 26 to 27 states actively and continuously we have supplied the COVID kits. And numbers, I think Shishir can give you better.
Yeah. So I look more business aspect. Rachna looks at more technical aspect, because we have divided roles. I think the one question when we had a discussion long ago is that how the association partnership is more important. See, that's very critical for any organization, because having a good partnership in line is very, very critical. So I'll come to that later. But right now, regarding the numbers part, yes, we started with very small in 2019, 20. We just started in 2020 earlier, and we just did very few kits in April, because we got single plex in April 2020. So from where we started. So we struggled quite a bit for getting approvals, because we were ready with the kit in February itself. And personally, I traveled to health minister, I traveled to every place. And I requested, even at the state government level, I have requested that we need to get validated. But unfortunately, we couldn't get a right track to get it validated. But after a long struggle, we got through. And then subsequently, we did decent numbers in 1920. Not to the level where we had to, but yes, we did around, I think, 60,000 tests in 1920. But in 20 and 21, I mean, March to April 21, 2.1 crores of tests. And that I feel is significant to mention is because we have done right from. We did around 2.1 crores of to everything in packaging it and supplying it. It needs lot of labor and lots of energy to supply. So that actually, I feel probably we are the highest in numbers as a single company which supplied across. May not be in terms of the market share, in terms of monetization of those, but for sure the number wise we are ahead. And so to say, we are the lowest in the country now. We have started the PCR test from 850, in fact 1250 rupees per test. When the testing rate was 4,500, we used to supply at 1250. You would be amazed. Today's rate is 22.75, 22 rupees 75 paise, and we are still supplying. So, and that's how we are working out our process optimization, not hampering the quality, and also still to make some margins for sure. So that's how we could come up with those. Right now we are, as Rachna said, we are in 26, 27 states. Fortunate to supply even Andaman Nicobar. And so those all things we are doing. So reasonably good.
Right. Thank you so much. Lalit, I would want to bring you in here. In the current times when exports were negligent, startups, we've heard from Shishir and Rachna how they rose to the occasion and decided to manufacture products end to end in India, which seemingly looks tough for someone like a layman who's been hearing about a lot of foreign products coming in. So I want you to encapsulate the spirit of Make in India or Atmanirbhar Bharat and how startups are helming this from the very front.
See, when Rachna talks about the fact that Indian products are looked down upon, even by Indian purchasers and Indian users, she's not far from the truth.
Right.
She is right. From the very beginning, one of the things that we established for ourselves at Index was that when it comes to quality, we are not going to just adhere to the minimum required quality. We are not going to adhere to the quality that regulatory agencies within India ask for, or even global agencies, CE, FDA ask for, but even aspire higher than that. Because as we prepare a diagnostics platform for India, it's very important for us to have diagnostic companies that are beyond global standard. So that's the spirit of indigenization. Spirit of indigenization is, so words like, words like jugaad, all those are out. They're completely out. This is global gold standard products coming out of India. And that is the spirit with which we approached it from day one. And so quality is paramount, number one. Number two, when it comes to indigenization, a lot of times, Shishir is right. I was right there, standing right in front of him and Rachna actually in Hyderabad when we were discussing kits at 1250 to 1600 rupees a test that diagnostic companies would buy, and for the prices to come down to where they have right now, it is significant, right? But this is what volumes can do, and volumes, when combined with rigor, quality, and indigenization, we can bring down the prices definitely for people to buy, but we can also at the same time still make reasonably healthy margins given the volumes, right? And this is how countries like China and Korea have conquered this market, and they still continue to play a very significant role in the Indian diagnostics sphere. We have not completely outbeaten them. Today, like you said, exports are negligent. That's very, very key. As we move forward and establish self-sufficiency for diagnostics as a whole in India, not just COVID diagnostics, but molecular diagnostics as a
Right.
whole in India, export regulations will go away, and exports will be freed up. Right now we cannot export diagnostics. We can export a few vaccines probably, but we can't export diagnostics. So when the export regulations go away, companies like Huel
Right.
will be at the forefront competing
Right.
with the Chinese manufacturers, the Korean manufacturers across the world, and that is where it really all comes to fore. The last thing
Right.
is that going forward, one of the proposals that we have for index is to actually have an index seal of quality, say that this is an index approved, index validated product. And I think that it can stand for both a indigenization, so to tell people that this is a made in India diagnostic product, but also show that it has been validated by a very stringent quality regimen. And so one of the things when we talked about the 360 view that you talked about, as we look at each ingredient and each diagnostic kit, we are putting together a very strong validation protocol, a quality protocol for this, so that when we approve it, people will know that it stands for a certain level and a certain standard. So that's where we are right now,
Right.
Shruti.
So
Right.
one challenge I would like to put forth, probably Index can also take it up, is
Yes.
what, see, currently what we are seeing the inflow, because import is not restricted, only export is restricted.
Yes.
And you see different countries have different manufacturers. In some places, there is no COVID. For example, the US and
Yes.
the
Right.
so they are dumping their kits at the lowest price. And
Right.
being Indian manufacturer, we are facing a big threat. And who would safeguard MSMEs interest?
Right.
How the MSMEs would flourish if we are competing with a dump product where they would sell it at a throwaway price? And that's one factor probably government of India should think, and probably we as a policy, I don't know how that would be taken up. So that is a big challenge what country is facing now. And they are dumping all the material in country. And I was shocked to know Chinese were asking us for the product, and the Chinese cost is $2.5, and we are selling at 25 rupees. And this is how the current state of pricing. And how many startups, how many MSMEs would come forward and be patient with this pricing to work out. And the biggest challenge is once you have to maintain your top line, if you want to have that top line going on, people would sustain, for sustenance, they would go to that pricing, whatever is prevailed. And that becomes a compulsion to many of the startups. So
Right.
this is a very tricky situation. So, and probably the government of India also looks into it.
Right. Right. Lalit, at the heart of it, the CCAMP Index program is also thriving towards a public-private partnership to bring together different stakeholders. So how do such partnerships lead to the growth of any company, especially a startup, especially in such a confined scenario like today's times?
See, one of the things that makes CCAMP Index thrive is that we are facilitating things, we are standing in the middle and making things happen. So one of the things that we can really help is make companies very, very agile, very, very fast and responsive. For example, if there is a variant out there, right? In a regular situation, what would happen is that it would take a few months or a year or so for you to come up with diagnostics for a variant. I mean, I know that Huel is working on a diagnostics for a variant, or say for mucormycosis, the fungal disease. If they're working on it, very quickly we can bring them together with a hospital or a research institute that has access to samples, that has access to the sequences, that will facilitate the quicker development of these kits. And so the turnaround time in coming up with a kit, coming up with a response, and coming up with a product that can be boxed and sold, or a service that can be executed immediately to the end patient, the time it takes, and while maintaining the quality and ensuring that there is access to everyone across the country for that product or service, that thing can be accomplished by a program like Index. Today we are embarking on a lot of projects, individual projects within Index, where you will see that agility in play. In the absence of a program like this, that agility will not be there. And like it or not, and I don't mean to joke about it at all, but before someone can actually come up with a kit for Delta plus variant and actually see that it reaches the patient and there is some kind of an execution of that, there will be another variant out.
Right.
So the way that we are working is, how do we respond aptly, respond correctly, but at the same time make sure that the commercialization of the product, the launch of the product, and its use across the country, or the service across the country, happens with the speed that has not happened before. And that's where I
Right.
think we do it.
Right. Rachna and Shushma, in the earlier conversation that we had, you highlighted how a great network of people and allies can come in handy, especially while creating a startup and if you're a new entrant. So help us understand what kind of partnerships are you able to build currently as a part of the program?
You mean with the validation part, what you're talking about, or as a startup growth?
By being a part of the CCAM portfolio as a startup, the partnerships that you are able to access.
See, association with any incubation center and the reputation what I think Index program is getting on table is that probably your products are well validated, and now you get many inquiries from different individuals, not only on the same CCAM platform, but even indirectly from different manufacturers, different researchers. So they get to know about your products and your ability to perform. So the same way we have just worked out with Sri Chitra Tirunal, one kit they wanted us to validate and take it in a commercial form. So that's, I think it's a sort of byproduct what we got from association with different platforms like CCAM, so that we are exposed to the global world. I mean, in the sense they actually see us that we can commercialize things when we have at our end. So that prompted them to associate with us. So Dr. Anup, who is part of CCAM, Sri Chitra Tirunal, so they wanted to associate. They transferred technology to us, one of the kinds of kits which can validate, which can be done. The COVID test can be done in 45 minutes with different genes which are not involved in, they are not mutational hotspots. So those sort of things are coming up. So we are now associating with another university, Madurai Kamaraj, and so that we are working closer to work out with some devices which would be coming, that would be another game changer. So these all come as an indirect package from associating with bigger networks like CCAP and Indian's program.
Right. Lalit, would you want to add something to this?
Absolutely, Shruti. One of the things that has happened in the last 1 year, and I'm sure Shishir and Rachna would broadly agree, is that, we used to have something called public-private partnership. And for a very long time, it was a nice thing to have. Everyone would say a public-private partnership, right? Or there is also this thing called industry academia collaboratives. collaborations or whatever.
Right.
These became standard terms. I think that what has happened in the last 1 year is that there is no strictly defined partnerships like that. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? So we have networks of people coming together. And I'll just give you an example is that we have the developer of an ingredient, right? Whose
Right.
specialization is that he makes magnetic beads. That's
Right.
all he does. He is an expert at making magnetic beads. Now, magnetic beads could be used for RNA extractions, but he doesn't know how to do that. There's another company in the ecosystem within Index that is actually a developer company. So this company is an expert at developing assays, developing these techniques. So they take these beads and they quickly develop an RNA extraction kit with it. But
Right.
guess what? Once they develop the RNA extraction kit, they can even get an approval for it if they want to from ICMR. But they don't know how to mass produce it and they don't know how to market it. Now,
Right.
in comes another company, say like Huwell, that comes in and says, hey, I like this because this is an indigenous producer of magnetic beads, a developer that has a kit. Let's transfer the assay over to us. We have the scale up capability. We can market it. And suddenly they market it. Now, somewhere in the middle comes a validation protocol because this has to be validated in a clinical center
Right.
on clinical samples. And that's where our clinical COE comes in, and the clinical COE is actually validated. So, what would you call this thing? I mean, it's a very nice network of people, but the power of programs like CCamp Index is that we are actually making this happen.
Rachna and Shishir, we talk about partnerships of all kinds. Most of our entrepreneurs find their co-founders in their family members, sometimes in their college premises, in their classmates. But yours is a very special kind of a partnership, a husband and a wife running an exciting biotech startup in India. So walk us through this very unique partnership and how did you together build this company from the scratch?
Hey, ladies first.
Why so? Tough question to answer. So given to me. I think we have been classmates, been friends, and then we are husband and wife also. But, we have demarcated our jobs, I think, very clearly, and the freedom of expression. There is nothing like anyone can shout on the. I can shout on him and he can shout on me for if something goes wrong. And there is a strict rule that it cannot be taken personally. So probably this way we make it work. There is open discussion. There is, there are fights.
Right.
But ultimately we feel that, okay, we can't get a better partner than this. So better to continue together and keep it going.
Right. Right. Shishir?
I think see, the partnership started when we thought of from the day one when we were classmates together and in masters we did MSc together. And Rachna was more inclined towards PhD and she joined IISc Bangalore for her PhD, and subsequently she moved out and joined CCM. And I was more interested towards going into industry, so I joined a bioinformatics company in Indore. And then I moved to Shanta Biotech. I was working in Shanta. So then when we thought of doing it, so we said that either we should get married before PhD or after PhD. So the partnership or deal happened there, right from the day one, the deal started that to how to live together.
Right.
So then we said, okay, we get married before PhD, and then we started working together. So since being more in the sense understanding science, people prefer that people should not be in science or egos coming through. But there's nothing. That's what we have seen is the common objective when you fix up to have, say, a company has to flourish. When a company has to flourish, all the partners have to work for the benefit of company. So where the objective is only the company, it's not the individual objective. So we actually carry home the discussions, and we in fact Rachna is more bent on scrutinizing each technical aspect and thinking, brooding over it again and again. I don't think more and more. I even decision sometimes, and she objects to it. And then this all would carry day in, day out at home as well. So we, in fact,
Right.
our kid, when we have, we she was with us when we were doing initial days of As Life Science. So she used to come and sleep here itself in the lab. So she in fact recognizes everything, a DNA gel and an RNA gel, and how the DNA looks at. So that's how it went home, and a sort of good atmosphere of science is created at home. So we, being partner, it's always better to have unknown angel. I'm sorry, better to partner with known angel than unknown devil. So I would say
Better.
We saw we
better
quickly
to partner with known angel than unknown devil. So we would not. And see, partners play a major role in
right.
current day world, in any startup to grow. And I think I have seen many of the good companies failing because of partners. So if you have a right partner, and partner probably at
Right.
home, partner at office, so I think that gives you a good space to adjust at workplace. So I think this should be a model.
Right.
Earlier, people used to say as wife and husband company. When the acquisition guys, French guys came, but in fact, they realized that we actually are professionally connected more at office, personally connected more at home.
Right.
So that's more important to delineate your work. So that's how we could survive together at home as well as at office.
I know there were several times when zero penny in the pocket, but we both knew that there is no money, and somehow we have to manage and do it. So
Love.
it's probably easier.
Yeah, when you know that money coming from is the same source, there's no money, you know that source is dry there. So what we have to put at home and what we have to work at office, so you need several planning.
Right.
It's a tough call, but definitely it's a good call when you have a good plan.
Right. Right. So nice to hear that. Thank you so much for that. Lalit, I would want to bring you in here. The COVID-19 pandemic has also acquainted us to this world of molecular diagnostic and invariantly boosted the industry so much so that the products that were never made in India in the last 50 years are being made right now. So how do you see this industry? What's the future of it? And how do you place Huel in between that?
So first thing is, so Huel will definitely be like, you know, every year, every month, so many people climb the Mount Everest, right? But,
Right.
you know, beyond Tenzing Norgay and Edmund Hillary, you would remember very few names.
Right.
Who is the 11th person to climb, kind of a thing.
Right.
So in that sense, you know, they will always be, they will always have that pioneer role.
Right.
But considering the fact that index represents, an index is housing 150 companies, aspirant companies, let me say this, and I say this quite often in our meetings, and we have a meeting every week, so almost every week I get an opportunity to say this. If the top 40, 50 companies that are actually producing diagnostics were to completely flourish, and if the exports were to open, and if India were to really open up in every nook and corner to molecular diagnostics, then these 50 companies would just about be sufficient to serve the needs of the country as we exist right now. And what place do I see for companies like Huel and other companies which have pioneered this and have worked in the last 2 years, 3 years actually. I mean, starting from 2017, Rachna and Shishir have been working on molecular diagnostics, so to speak. COVID has kind of given them the big boost. But where do I see them going? They will lead the way in novel technologies. The country has just woken up to RT-PCR. But for a molecular biologist, this is molecular biology 101. I mean, we learned this on our day one in molecular biology. There's so much more that molecular biology based diagnostics, molecular diagnostics can bring to this country. And in terms of automation that they can bring to this country. And I know that Huel is making, a few moves in that regard. In terms of novel techniques, technologies, in terms of expanded services, in terms of, and I'll just say this, it may sound audacious, but I'll just say this and I'll put it for people to digest it. About 5 years ago, two companies, Thermo Fisher and Illumina, on the global stage, were leading the next generation sequencing based diagnostics, right? Then out came a company out of China that decided we will build our own sequencing platform, right? And now there is a sequencing platform that's come out of China that is giving the global giants a run for their money. So I think that one of the things that will happen, like in any industry it will happen, is that companies like Huel will continue to grow. They will continue to make those path breaking kind of contributions, while obviously the rest catch on to where Huel is right now, and that's how everyone grows. But this space is large, the future is very big, and there is space for multiple companies to flourish, while obviously some of them will go zoom ahead and create the way for others. And that's where I see companies like Huel kind of playing a role.
Rachna and Shishir, what next for Huel? What are you guys planning? What are you guys working on?
I think dream for the Huel is to work. It's not that we want to be restricted only to molecular diagnostics, but we want to basically, right now we are trying to integrate chemistry, biology, and electronics to bring some unique testing methods, to bring some good testing method, as well as to simplify the molecular testing which is going on right now, to make it more and more automated, to make it more and more faster and easier to operate. So this is what we want to work on. And in the basic research, basically what we never want to leave is working on novel enzymes, different enzymes, which feels fun when you have something which can be used for faster amplification, which can be used for better molecular diagnostic test, or it can be a better antigen antibody test, maybe not on a rapid card, but by a different technique. So we are exploring, and some of the things we are doing, not losing the focus, but to bring more experts from whom have different point of view, and then develop some unique and good products which will be useful in the field of diagnostics.
Right. Shishir, would you want to add something more?
Yeah, as Rachna said, that we actually are looking at other room temperature stable reagents, lyophilized reagents, which would put an end to a cold shipment. So that is one which we have immediately on that. So we have divided our future not more than, because we are not seeing beyond 2 years. So we divide every 6 months. So we have put objectives for every 6 months. Every half year we have this objective. So in next 6 months, as you said, we are expanding into a new facility. So within October, I think I would take this platform to invite everybody. So in October first week, probably Dasara is being celebrated very well in Hyderabad. So Lalit would be joining us for sure. So I would, Devashri, me and other team of IndiaX and others, we would definitely like to see you here. So we are building a facility which is first floor done. So FDA compliant and CE marking based facility. Apart from that, we would like to see exports going on, and we had different platforms. We actually had a discussion with the Manufacturers Association, the David Forrester, to put forth Veena Kohli. So we spoke to her. So we to put forth to Government of India and others to release this quota system and make it open. So that's one thing which we are working on. And then subsequently we are working on, as Rachna said, an integrated platform which can make electronics, chemistry, and biology on single platform. So that is being done right now. Integration of these people, onboarding is done, and a prototype is also being developed. So that would be released soon, and definitely will come into index for validation. So that's the next platform which can be a game changer for fuel, and then it can be definitely the world representative platform. And we are working on several chemistry projects as well. I feel next would be an integrative sciences for biology and chemistry and electronics together.
Right. Thank you so much.
Add one line. Yeah, just one line I want to add with all the scenario. Like I belong to a family where a lot of people were in literature and all. So हम अकेले ही चले थे जानिबे मंजिल मगर हम सफर मिलते गए और कारवां बनता गया. So a lot of people have to come together and build a good diagnostic industry for India.
Definitely. I think that's a very, very great note to end this conversation. Thank you so much, both of you all, and Lalit. This was a very interesting conversation, and it sort of puts back the ball on all of us, saying there's so much exciting things that are happening around us, and all it needs for us is to be hopeful and to keep leveraging and keep looking at indigenization. So thank you so much for joining in. All the very, very best for everything that you guys ought to do.